So I was looking through the Three Mormons YouTube channel the other day. The interesting thing about these guys is the fact that they face issues head on that I really wouldn't expect them to face. Like they talk about Kolob at one point. That's an embarrassment. That's a physical claim about the physical universe. Or they talked about race. That's a subject I figured they'd want to avoid. Same with their famed magical underwear. So let's check out their magical underwear video and see what they have to say for themselves. Let's get into it.
When I go to J. Crew, I like to shop for underwears. But when it came to Salt Lake City, I found that they all had the same underwears. It's all white. It's like a nice bed sheet. Sometimes, when Laura's not around, I like to run out of the shower naked. I like to take a pillowcase and tie it around. I like to be Tarzan. That's how I got kicked out of the Omni Hotel. It got really weird when I went down to breakfast, and all they found was 2 Post-it notes and a sugar packet.
Is this a George Bush impression? Who's he mocking? I don't understand. Is this George Bush, or is it like Clint Eastwood? Oh, and one more thing I wanted to mention, just in case the Three Mormons come across this video. I'm not a goldfish connoisseur or anything. In fact, I know very little about them, but I've heard an awful lot of bitching from people who watch my channel saying that you're mistreating that goldfish on the desk. Get a bigger bowl and some bubbles. Thing's probably suffocating to death. And I hope you don't transfer it from a big tank to that little tank for the sake of the show, because I can't imagine that would be good for it. Okay, let's just get into the video.
Alright, so a lot of people ask this question, Kwaku, what's that thing underneath your shirt? Because my shirts are too wide-necked, and sometimes you can see my garments. And I apologize for that. I'm getting better. I'm buying new clothing where I hide them now. But what we wear underneath our clothing is we wear garments. It's a special kind of underwear and shirt. It just kind of looks like a t-shirt and boxer shorts, and it's white. And we wear underneath our clothing. And a lot of people, they look at this and they go, you guys have magic underwear. I think it was Penn Jillette said we wear crazy underwear. Yeah, it's crazy. It's got like sparkles, and it's got, you hit a button and it starts singing September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's not crazy. It's just, it's what we wear. Now, to a lot of people, this seems foreign, because the idea of Christians wearing things, that's so bizarre, unless nuns, or cardinals, or priests, or rabbis, or anyone. A lot of religions wear things, you know? We just wear underneath our clothing.
Okay, now here's the thing about the magical underwear. I know it isn't actually called magical underwear, and I'll get into why I'm continuing to call it that in a minute. But here's his argument. It's exactly the same as the special clothing people of other religions wear, except Mormons wear it under their clothes instead of on the outside. He cites a number of other religious figures who wear special clothing. Now, I understand that argument. I can get on board with the fact that other religions do strange things like that too. And I know theirs isn't any stranger ultimately. They're both wearing holy clothing. So what is different about it? I think the reason why we view Mormons' clothing as strange, but we don't view it as strange for monks or priests, is because we're used to it with monks and priests. Wearing special robes or clothing is kind of expected in certain cases, like when they're up there doing their sermons or whatever it is. But Mormons do it in a way that's just different enough to be confusing, to make us see it for what it is. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous when Catholics do it, and it's ridiculous when Mormons do it too. We just don't realize how ridiculous it is for Catholics, because at this point it's a social norm. As he said, or at least implied, adult Mormons who've been ordained in one of the super secret temples where baptisms for the dead and stuff happen are expected to wear their special underwear 24/7, with the exception of showering or whatever else. They pretty much replace regular underwear. Like for example, I wear what one would call a wife beater, aka a tank top, under most of my shirts. Sometimes I wear a plain white V-neck shirt instead, because I wear a lot of button-up shirts. And of course I wear a pair of either boxers or briefs. I'll let you try to figure out which. But the Mormons' special underwear and shirts basically replace that stuff completely, as far as I can tell. You don't have to wear them to the beach, you don't have to wear them when you play sports, you don't have to wear them in the shower, as I said a minute ago. But you wear them basically every other time of day and night. You can't buy them anywhere except through the Mormon church, because they're supposed to be holy. I find it fascinating that Mormons really don't see how crazy this is. I mean, he's sitting here trying to justify it to us, and I think that's because most of them grew up up with it. I mean, look at Catholics and how they feel about their sacred robes or whatever. They don't think it's particularly strange. Most of us don't either, even though I didn't grow up around Catholics at all. I've never even been to a Catholic mass. But it isn't just the fact that they have sacred clothing they wear. It's how different it is from the norm. The fact that they don't wear them on the outside probably doesn't help them look more normal. Jehovah's Witnesses wear suits to church. That's not how most people do it, but they understand the logic behind it, showing respect for God and all that stuff. Catholic priests wear their robes during Mass. That's not how I did it, but I understand that they're trying to show the difference between themselves and the rest of the congregation. They're trying to make the gap of separation of power larger, if you will. Trying to show that they aren't a normal member of the congregation. They're something special. They speak for God. Mormons wear suits when they go to their chapel, same as Jehovah's Witnesses. That's pretty common. In fact, Mormons even wear certain types of clothes to different events in the temple, too. If they're going to a live sealing, which is pretty much a marriage between an undetermined number of living people intended to keep them together in the afterlife, as opposed to a non-living sealing, which we won't get into right now. They'll usually wear Sunday's best clothes, but you don't need to wear special temple clothes for that. But even the most sacred of sacred ceremonies at the temple, Mormons have to wear special ceremonial clothes. You apparently aren't supposed to wear them outside of the temple at all. So they're super secret and important. But still, they're outer garments. They're a lot like the robes a priest would wear. But through it all, Mormons with certain ordinances, which is most adult Mormons, FYI, still have to wear magic underwear. So it's actually pretty different from all the other groups of people they named, because Mormons wear special outerwear too, just like the priests or cardinals or nuns. But in addition to that stuff, they wear special underwear too. The church calls it the armor of God. Here's a decent picture of Mitt Romney where you can make out the outline of his magical shirt. What makes these so special? How are they different from any other shirt? Where do you buy them? Of course you can only get them through the LDS Church. Nobody can bless these bad boys like the Mormons can. Apparently though, the LDS Church says that there's nothing magical about them. They just act as a physical reminder not to sin, like a wedding ring is a physical reminder not to cheat. But then they go on to say that they're sacred and they can only be produced by the Mormon Church. Why are they so sacred? What's special about them? Either there's something supernatural about them or there isn't. Either they're exactly the same as any pair of underwear from Walmart or they're not. But that's the best answer we're gonna get, honestly. I looked pretty hard, and all I saw about how they were special is the fact that nobody else is allowed to produce them. If they do, it doesn't count. You have to pay the church money for them, or GTFO. Okay, I've gotten completely sidetracked from the video. Let's see what else Kwaku has to say about these things, because it's actually pretty relevant.
It's also funny because before I was LDS, sometimes I would wear a cross necklace. And I don't wear a cross necklace now. One, because men who wear necklaces just don't get girls, but...
Whoa! Wow, that is insulting. They get girls sometimes, you don't know. And by the way, these really look uncomfortable. I just want to make note of that. They look just awful. Okay, moving on.
Two, because, I already wear garments, so I already wear my symbol of my faith underneath my clothing. It's just, to me, it's something sacred, and there's certain things I don't want to blast online. I tell you everything else about me online. There's a couple things I can keep to myself, okay, folks?
Sure, but the point here is that it's strange. It's not strange when Catholics do it, at the very least, because they wear them on the outside, and we're used to it and can understand people showing outward signs of devotion. It's not strange when you wear special clothes to your temple events. It's not strange when you wear a suit to the chapel on Sundays. It's strange that you wear special underwear underneath your clothes 24/7. And honestly, I'm still not sure what's special about them. I do want to make note of the cost, though. Can anybody guess how much? You'll probably be surprised. I know I was a little surprised. So here's a picture of what they look like. Take a good long look at those. Tops and bottoms cost between $3 and $5. So I was like, there must be some catch, right? I looked up prices for boxers and other types of undergarments on Amazon to find that regular Hanes boxers cost roughly the same price. Although I do want to make note, Hanes is a designer brand. You'd expect those to be really, really expensive comparatively. How much could these have possibly cost to produce, honestly? Probably 15 cents a pair. So I'm sure their profit margins are through the roof. Could be worse, but they're still making a killing off these things. Not only that, but they're supplying undergarments to around 14 million people. Basically all of Utah. You know they're making bank. Anyways, they honestly could have charged like $20 a pair for them and gotten away with it if they wanted to. So I guess it isn't a blatantly obvious money grab. Like I said, it could be worse. Okay, let's continue with the video.
Muslims and Sikhs also wear clothing on their head that they regard to be sacred, and clothing in other places they regard to be sacred. Zoroastrianists as well wear white garments underneath their clothing that are similar to ours.
You aren't helping your case by citing Zoroastrianists as having similar practices to you. Next time I'd try maybe leaving that out, bud.
So the idea of LDS garments is not something to make fun of or mock or ridicule. It's something that's important to us. It's a reminder of our faith every day. It reminds us of the covenants we've taken upon us in the temple, and I love them. They're kind of cozy and fun. You can get them in different ways. You got your cotton poly, all right? Then you got your dry lux. I'm a dry lux guy. Then you got your jersey, which is it's okay. It makes you breathe more, but when the jersey gets wet, it's kind of sticky. Now, something that does actually bother me when people say you are magical underwear. I'm offended because they're living in this world in which they think mocking people's religion is okay. I will never go and mock a Muslim. I will never go and mock a cardinal or a priest or the Pope for what they wear. You shouldn't do that to us.
And there it is. Like I said earlier, I've been calling them magical underwear this whole time because that's how they're best known. I can understand why you personally wouldn't want to be mocked, and I don't feel like making fun of a person is a productive way of getting your point across. I do, however, feel like mocking a religion or an idea is productive. Talking about how ridiculous magical underwear is the perfect way of metaphorically smacking you in the face and making you realize that what you're doing isn't normal. It isn't socially acceptable. You should re-examine your ideas to see if they hold up to scrutiny. Is there something special about these underwear? Why am I wearing these? Why is it that only the Mormon Church can sell them to me? Do they have some kind of monopoly on supernatural underwear? How do others go about producing them? If we live in a world where this stuff isn't mocked, made fun of, and laughed at, then we live in a world where significantly fewer people will question their behavior. If they never realize what they're doing is strange or abnormal in some way, how can they ever make progress? Do I demand that people not correct me when I make a mistake on my YouTube channel? Do I ban Christian commenters from my comment section or my Discord because I don't want to hear that they feel differently than me? No, that's not a productive way to do things. In fact, it's outright counterproductive. I want people to point out when I make a mistake. I want Christians to come here and talk to me. I want to hash things out with them. I want people to challenge me and work through their feelings and their beliefs together. Hiding behind this "don't mock me" mask isn't helping anybody. Not only does it make you look weak, it definitely makes you weaker.
The garments represent our covenants, which is basically a promise with God and a God's promise with you. So we wear those to remind us of our covenants. We're literally putting on our covenants in a sense. And so children don't wear them. You wear garments when you go through the temple, sometimes before you go on a mission, before you get married, or when you just feel it's time. But usually you have to be 18 to do that. Now, there are certain things about garments that are up to debate. Do you wear garments when you work out or not? Some people say yes, some people say no. I'm not in the position to be judging you when and where you're wearing your garments. But it's important that Latter-day Saints who've made those covenants live worthy and they wear their garments because it is part of the promise you've made with God. So I wear my garments every day.
Oh, that's fascinating. So they didn't say you absolutely have to wear them when you exercise or something, but if you don't, you'll be looked down upon for it. That's a guilt trip if I've ever seen one. Jehovah's Witnesses do the same thing. We aren't telling you not to take this life-saving medicine that's based on a certain blood fraction, but if you do, you probably won't make it to paradise. Just saying. That's called putting pressure on people. You can't both say you don't care and then try to pressure people like that. Obviously, you do care. Just own up to it. It's no big thing. You insist people wear magical underwear. Embrace it. But FYI, that's actually called undue influence, and it's a sign of a cult. Influence by which a person is induced to act otherwise than by their own free will or without adequate attention to the consequences. If you see them putting pressure on people, forcing them to make decisions that they might not otherwise make, they're influencing them unfairly. I see that from just about every cult I examine. And believe me, I've examined an awful lot of cults. I know one when I see it.
So I wear my garments every day. Wow, it sounds so self-righteous right there. But basically, I hope you guys know, I hope this is a good episode, to know that garments are something we wear. They're not something to be mocked. They're not something crazy. They're not magical underwear. There's nothing magic about it at all. Wingardium Leviosa. Zoroastrianists, Muslims, Catholics, Jews, Hindus, Buddhists, Confucius, a lot of people wear religious clothing. And the Latter-day Saints don't deserve to be picked apart and mocked because we wear it as well, because we wear it underneath.
See, this is why I like this dude specifically. He just whispered a Harry Potter spell into his shirt. That is funny. Self-deprecating humor. I can appreciate that in a person. And I would hope that he could appreciate that I'm making fun of his religion, not him personally. But something tells me he takes it personally. There shouldn't be anything wrong with a little criticism. If you have the right faith, then hypothetically, you shouldn't have anything to fear by shining a light on it, right? One more note though. He said Latter-day Saints don't deserve to be picked apart and mocked because they wear magic underwear. I just want to reiterate, you're right, mocking the members of a religion probably isn't helpful, but mocking ideas should come with the territory of having outrageous ideas. You should expect that. In fact, it should come with the territory of having any ideas, period. You should expect people to pick your ideas apart. If you can't handle that, then stop having ideas. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Check out my Discord, my Patreon, my science channel, and my podcast. And check out the secret link of the day. All links are in the description as always. Thanks for watching, guys.